Alright dudes, welcome back with another pickup. This is Diamondback Intense. I think it's 93. I tried looking up the catalogs but I couldn't find it, but it's got the newer worlds here, so it must be after 90s, but just a low-end headset which looks like an old style, so yeah, not too sure. But yeah, pretty cool bike. Let's take a look. Alright, starting from the top, you can see it's pretty rusted on the top here. Got the Altus A10 shifters and brake levers on both sides. You can see not really working that well, and got this kind of funny stem with the cable going through. Old style headset, Diamondback logo there, made in China and Design USA. I got this kind of cool paint job, half kind of like a drip red going through. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of cleans up. And then this Diamondback uni crown. Not sure what these brakes are. They're Pro Altus as well. You see the tires kind of busted. Not sure what hubs those are, and just I think generic rims as well. But yeah, I had a spin of them, they're not too bad. Little Intense logo here, and then this older style Diamondback block lettering. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, USA again. Manufactured for Repco, which is a company in Australia. Serviced by Max Cycles. And then you can see this Chromo High 10 combo. Little seat post clamp here. Just generic seat. I want to say Altus front mech, and then Altus crankset as well. But yeah, it's pretty cool because back in the day, even the older lower end cranksets, they still were bolted and not pinned, so you can still change up the chain rings. Chain is all rusted through. Altus A20 rear mech. Yeah, you can see the cassette all rusted through, but it looks alright. And then yeah, same with the hubs and wheels. I think they're just generic. Same brakes. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty cool. I think it's gonna do up nicely, especially the frame. So yeah, we'll take it apart and see how it looks. Alright, so taking off the pedals here, just using a little bit WD-40 just to loosen it up. Yeah, it doesn't take much. You can also kind of soak the other bits like your brake bolts or the stem while you got your WD-40 out, or you can just do it as you go, as I'm doing here, and that helps kind of seep in and loosen everything, makes it a bit easier to take off the parts. You're still using my my ghetto chain breaker. I probably say this in every video, but I've been meaning to get a new chain breaker, but I've been using it for a few years now, and it's just still holding on, so I'll probably get one when it breaks. And here, yeah, taking off the cables, taking off the rear mech, pretty simple here. It was pretty easy, just unscrewing it. It wasn't stuck or anything. And then yeah, I kind of just cut the cables now. It makes it easy to take off the mechs without having to worry about it. Here, taking off the cranks. You can use the other crank arm for leverage, as well as lining up with the chain state if you're having trouble getting bolts off. And then yeah, tip for me for taking off cranks is just unwind the tool all the way, put it in, give it a half turn with the wrench just to make sure it's fully seated, and then yeah, wind down the other area. It should pop off, no problem. And then just go slow here. Sometimes you can see it felt a little tight, so what I did was I sprayed a little bit WD-40 inside the taper, and yeah, and then slowly wound the tool in, and it came off. So yeah, Most of the time it's just better just to go slow. That way you can kind of feel if it's going to work or not. And if it needs a little bit extra, take the time to kind of undo it and spray a little bit WD-40 in there. Because yeah, once you once you strip the crank threads, there's really no saving them. And here, taking off the BB, you can see I'm using the Pedro's BB tool from Butte Bike. They sent that to me, and it's it's really handy. You can just screw it in, it holds the tool in, and this BB came out pretty easily, even though it's pretty rusted. And you can see here just a little bit more WD-40. I think this plastic cap was tighter, but yeah, it came out. Here, cutting cables, make sure you don't cut the Y cable if you want to reuse it. I just cut the brake cable on top, and then taking these brakes off, just using a wrench. And these came off pretty easy as well. Yeah, usually you can kind of tell if a bike's going to be easy to take apart or not by after you try to take off a few parts, because usually if one part's easy to take off, most parts, yeah, should be. But yeah, I guess you never know. But this one's pretty good. And yeah, taking off the front brake off, same thing. These old style canty brakes. But yeah, these came off pretty easy. Really no problem. Kind of just unscrew it and slide it off. Make sure you keep all your bolts together, don't lose anything. And taking off the reflectors. Yeah, I don't really run reflectors on my bike. Here, taking the grips off. Yeah, you can actually cut it off with a razor blade. So what you do is you cut down, but don't cut all the way down to the bar, and you should just be able to rip it. And you can see here, there's no scratches or anything from the razor blade at all. These bars are totaled anyway. Like, there's so much rust on it, so I guess it doesn't really matter if you scratch it underneath the handlebar, but I just want to show you guys. And then yeah, same thing on the other side. Just give it a little cut at the beginning. And you can slice it through the top, and then just just either rip it off, slide it off. Obviously, if you want to keep your grips, don't slice them. And then here, a little bit more WD-40 on stem. So yeah, if you see rust or it's been sitting around for a long time, yeah, WD-40 is going to help you. You can see this is pretty tight. And then if your wedge is stuck, you just hit it with a hammer, and it should loosen up the wedge that's inside. And you should be able to just twist it off. Seat post came out fairly easy, I think. Yeah, just taking off the quick release. Yeah, this came out pretty easy. Usually when you're getting a bike, I always check this, because if it's stuck in there, it's a ton of work to kind of get the seat post out, and it's almost not even worth buying the bike unless it's a really good frame. Alright, taking off all the parts. You can see everything came off pretty easy, and they're the wheels, bars and stuff. But yeah, here's the frame, looking pretty sick. Just gotta give it a clean up, and yeah, I think it's gonna look pretty good. Yeah, pretty good find. I think you don't really see this paint style much anymore. And then just a few stickers you can see is pretty dirty. So usually I just clean it with it's not the degrees in here, it's a detergent and water mix, and then a little bit of soap as well. And then yeah, you just spray it on and wipe it down. You can also use a nylon brush, and that gets rid of all the dirt and stuff first, keeps it a little bit cleaner. But yeah, it's really just taking the effort and make sure you can brush everything down, get it clean. So I do an initial brush down, and then afterwards here I'm just taking off the stickers. So just soak it with WD-40, and then using a plastic lever, or yeah, I'm using a Pedro's tire lever, but you can use any kind of plastic thing that's not going to scratch your forks. So yeah, I think the WD-40 kind of dries out some of the old adhesive or makes it a little bit looser, and then you can scrape it off. And here you can see, yeah, it looks pretty good after you clean it up. I'm still probably going to T-cut the frame, but yeah, we'll see how I go. Yeah, with the WD-40, of course, just be careful around if there's stickers or decals. It might take some of it off. Usually the decal should be fine because it's underneath the clear coat. But yeah, if there's a sticker on top that you want to keep, just be careful with WD-40 around it because it's going to dissolve the adhesive. Here for the chrome cups, just using a little bit of foil, and you can shape it and use it to get rid of the rust. And yeah, that cleaned up pretty well. Try and get everything clean, take off the bottle bolts. There's this old service by Max Cycles in Victoria, but yeah, I'm redoing it, so I'm taking this off. Here's the tubing. It's chromo high 10 combined, so I assume it's some chromo tubing, some high 10 tubing, or maybe, yeah, I don't think it would be a mix of the combined stick metals, but it'd probably be just split tubing, I think. And here, yeah, giving more clean. I think the frame's looking pretty good. It looks like something out of like a horror movie or something. Yeah, it looks like bloodstained or something like that. I'm pretty sure companies, if they have a lot of bikes to sell, they probably wouldn't go down this paint job route. But I think back in the day, back in the 90s, like anything goes. This was kind of popular. So taking off the headset here, just unwind it. Be careful with the threads as you take it off. This one was fine. And then, yeah, just cleaning out the cups on both sides, taking out the cage bearings. I'm going to give those cage bearings a clean as well. And then, yeah, just using a nylon brush or a brass brush to kind of really get all the old grease out. But yeah, you can see it cleans up pretty good, not pitted at all. Cleaning up the bottom bracket here, still brush here. Just get rid of all the dirt and debris, so when you put a different BB in, it's gonna it shouldn't run into any problems. The threads should be good. Alright, so here's the frame, all done. It's pretty clean. You can see the top, there's like a lot of scratches, it's kind of a little bit cloudy, so I'm just gonna run some T-cut on here. T-cut is basically a car color restorer, and it's a very fine abrasive that takes off the top coat, and it has probably some chemicals and stuff in it to help smooth everything over. I think on the instructions you're meant to wear gloves, so wear gloves when you're doing it. But basically you put on, it's kind of like a polish, you rub it over and then you use water and brush it off. But you can see it works pretty well. Once again, be careful of the decals. You don't want to take off too much of the clear coat. But yeah, after that, I think it was looking good. I only really did the T-cut on the top tube because I think the top tube needed the most. But I think the frame's looking really good. Looking really, yeah, I think the paint job's super sick on this one. Alright, here's the wheels, so you can try and clean these up. They're not in the best condition, but I think those should turn up alright. But yeah, you can see over here, this is pretty rough, so I might have to do the bearings on this one. The front one's actually not too bad. But yeah, I'll take a look inside anyway. And the only thing really is just this little bit of rust here. But yeah, I'll try and clean these up as best I can, see how it goes. Oh yeah, and the front one has a flat as well, so I need to fix that. Alright, taking off these reflectors. Yeah, I found the best way is to just put a file in there and then just twist it. And yeah, it should fall off. Took me a while to actually work that out. I was trying to screwdriver and stuff, but the files are a little bit thicker, so it works really well. And then just using this cassette removal tool to take off the cassette, and you need a chain whip as well. So it came off there. Take off the dock disc, take off the skewers, And then yeah, just spray it down with the soap spray again, and then brushing it down with the nylon brush, getting all the dirt and gunk off. I have a little pressure sprayer as well. You can just get from Bunnings. It's just like a hand pump one, and I find that helps as well. And then yeah, using WD-40 to get rid of this rust. And then a wire brush, just brush it down. Yeah, not too much to it. Here you can also let the WD-40 soak a little bit first if you want, and that makes it way easier if you don't want to do it all at once. But yeah, you can see just by a little bit of cleaning, it's just, yeah, it goes a long way, I think. And then yeah, same with the other side, same process again. I think this one was a little bit tougher, but ended up turning out alright, I think. Yeah, I think the hardest thing to clean of hubs is like the inside bit where it's hard to get to. But yeah, I'm going to show you how to clean this rust off the spoke. So basically I just wiped it down with WD-40 and it feels a little bit rough, so I think it's just kind of surface rust. So yeah, I cleaned it and then you soak it with a bit of WD-40, and then I used foil to kind of rub, just normal kitchen foil to kind of rub up and down, and this should be able to get the rust off. For some reason, I think foil works better on steel or chrome plated stuff. But yeah, you can see it came off real good. And then I just got to do all these other little bits now. But yeah, I think the wood's looking good. And then yeah, cleaning the rehub here, same method. Once again, rehub was I think was way dirtier. But yeah, I just want to get the rust off before I open it up. You see, I use a lot of spray there. That's just water detergent mix, and then I usually spray a little bit of WD-40 as I go to get rid of the rest, and then just spread it up here. But yeah, a little bit of cleaning inside the hub as well. Just the pressure spray I was talking about. I just fill this up with water, and then yeah, just a couple of sprays. I think I put detergent in this as well. Just a little bit of detergent, just to help everything kind of wash off. Alright, well, it's looking pretty good. So I got these swamp things, another build, 26 by 2.1. Pretty cool. And I think they look like more of like an off-road tire, so I'm going to chuck those on. And then got this old Hutchison tube as well to fix that front wheel. So yeah, we'll chuck that on. Got this Pedro's tire lever. So yeah, got everything here. Just basically just do this. Alright, I think the wheels are looking good, super clean. I think these swamp things go with the whole horror theme as well. Alright, cleaning out the headset bearings, just using WD-40 again. Give these a soak, and then you just brush it off with I used a nylon brush first, and then you just use a wire brush for any stubborn bits. But yeah, just be careful when you kind of brush it, because you can see all that WD-40 is going to spray off in the direction you're brushing, and then just using a paper towel to kind of wipe it down. But yeah, it's pretty clean after. Give it a little bit more soak. You might have to do it more than one time. But yeah, I think after that it works pretty well. Also, wearing gloves help, but you can see yeah, my glove got a hole in it. But yeah, I think these are looking fresh. Alright, installing the headset. I just put it on my bench, the frame on a bench. I just want to get this done, get this together. So yeah, just make sure you grease it up and make sure that the cage bearings are facing the right way. Usually you can tell by just putting the bearings in the cups and just giving them a quick spin, and flipping the other way and giving them a quick spin, and you'll quickly work out which way they fit in. But you can see this is the curved side up to the cups, and I've loaded up with grease, loaded the top cups with grease as well, and put this in because it's threaded. You don't want to kind of mess around with the top bearings while you're trying to put on the bottom ones, so you may as well just put it in now and save yourself some hassle. And yeah, that's the top plate as well, already greased that up, so everything's greased up. Just chuck it on, and then yeah, wind it on the top. So yeah, once you have everything in there, you can kind of clean everything up, clean off the excess grease, wind it down and tension your headset. Make sure it's nice and tight, but it still spins freely and doesn't grind too hard on your bearings. And that's basically it. Alright, servicing the rear hub here. So yeah, tip here is just to take off one side. That way you don't have to worry about the nuts and spacers going in the right position, having to realign the axle. So what I did was I just took off the left hand side, the non-drive side. And then when you're taking it out, just be careful of the bearings as well, because you don't want them to fall out or anything. So you just take your axle out a little bit of the way and then use a magnet to take all the ball bearings out. And then just make sure you count your bearings on both sides to make sure it's the same. Make sure you have the right amount of bearings. You can see here I'm taking the axle out and taking the bearings out here. Some hubs, that little front face cover comes off, but this one doesn't. And then yeah, this is the other side of the hub with the bearings out, and I just cleaned it using what do you call this, cotton bud? Yeah, the cotton bud. And then same with the other side. But yeah, sped it up a bit so you can see it's pretty clean. And then use WD-40 to clean up the axle and the spacers. Give it a nice wipe down and use a wire brush if you need it. Looking at them, I thought the bearings were pretty good, but you can actually just see they're slightly off. If I give it a roll, you can see it doesn't really roll too smoothly. Don't know if you can see that, it's pretty hard. But yeah, basically it just means they're misshapen, so I'm going to replace them. So yeah, all the axles are clean now, just wiping them down. And then just make sure you take note of the order. When you took it apart, put it in the same order, and then here, just putting these new bearings in, and then just sliding the axle in. I find if you put the grease in first, it helps the ball bearings stick to the grease, and then your ball bearings don't fall out. And then here I'm just putting the grease in, and then just pulling the axle in a little bit so the ball bearings can't go through, but they can fall into place. And then yeah, just put in the spacers back on, the cone spacers back on. And then what you want to do is kind of just tension the spacer and cone against each other. Make sure it's nice and tight. You want it to spin freely, but you don't want the axle to have any play in it. It takes a little bit sometimes, but once you get it, you will know. Alright, just cleaning up the stem. You can see the top of it, it's a little marked up. I'm going to just try to T-cut it and clean it the best I can. There's some marks on top as well and some scratches. I'm not going to get all of it off, but basically I'll just do what I can, see how it goes. Yeah, so when I started stripping it, just after a little bit, you can see all that black coming off on the paper towel. So I think basically what happened was someone just sprayed this black because the paint was coming off super easy. There was no clear coat on it or anything. So what I'm going to do is just strip it all the way back, make it silver, and I think that'll be alright. Here just using Digger's paint stripper. Some people told me like in different countries there's a certain ingredient in there that you can't get because it's banned. So yeah, just make sure you don't breathe in the fumes or whatever and wear gloves. Last time when I used this paint stripper, it took a little bit, so I made sure I put a bunch on. And I think because this paint was super weak, it did a really good job. it made the paint come off super easy. So yeah, you can kind of see how it is. There's still certain bits where I want to sand it down, where the paint stripper didn't get it off. So yeah, I just use 600 wet and dry. Yeah, I think a lot of people think, or at least I thought, paint stripper is kind of like a easy way to strip paint. Like you can just chuck it on and then it'll come out bare metal. But actually, there's a lot of steps and it gets pretty messy. And then here, I'm just buffing it up. I think if you go in knowing what it takes to strip something, then you should be fine. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty cool looking. I just had to sand down some of the bits. I gave it a buff, kind of like all around, just smooth out all the scratches. Not 100%. Still kept some of the character of it. But yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. Alright, next thing was cleaning up these cranks. Yeah, they're just Altus A10, but they're not pinned, which is awesome. So kind of can put new chain rings on them. Isn't that much rust on them. There's some rust on the chain rings, but I'm gonna decide I'm gonna replace that anyway. These are 110 BCD, if anyone was wondering. And then yeah, just the same type of method. WD-40 and the brush gets rid of most things. And then with these chainring bolts, basically just put them in a can cap and then spray WD-40. These didn't have that much rust on them, so they're pretty easy to clean off. If they were more rusty, I'd probably drop them in vapor rust. But yeah, that's done. Clean those little bolts, and then now the seat post. You can see it's pretty gunked up in there. So I'm just gonna knock it out with some water and then buff this up as well. So yeah, the seat post has some scratches on it. I'm just gonna clean it up best I can again, basically using the same method. So WD-40 and a brush, and then just see how it's gonna buff out, and then using a wire brush for the harder bits again. And then giving it a quick buff on the press, and then yeah, WD-40. You can see some of the scratches on there. It's not gonna be perfect, but I think it's gonna be kind of a little bit better. There's still scratches on it, you can't see because of the light, but basically yeah, just do what you can. And then same with the cranks as well. What I like doing is basically clean them all up so they're kind of all around the same wear. I think that looks pretty nice, so they're kind of matching. Alright, so we got some of this stuff from an old build. I think just the previous build actually. You can see it's got the high-low pull. It's pretty cool. You can kind of adjust how quick this is or how strong it is. So we've got those, just clean those up, not too much to it. I think just WD-40 on those. And then here, got some nice XT brakes. And the only real thing is, I don't know if you can see it, there's some rust over here. I think another one had it more. Over here, you can see, got to try to get rid of that stuff. So I got those, and then bolts. I think these are called boots. And then these are called noodles, brake noodles. So yeah, we'll clean those up and see how we go. So yeah, same method here, just using a bit of WD-40 and a brush again, not too much to it. I think these levers I have on my specialized rock hopper as well. I have the LX ones, which is pretty much the same thing. I think maybe slightly different materials, but yeah, you just use an Allen key to undo this little bolt, and it changes the height of where the brake cable goes, so it gives you a little different feeling. Yeah, I can actually put it in the middle as well, so it goes low, medium, high. But yeah, I'm putting these on high just because, yeah, I don't know, it will have a little bit more quicker grip on this one. I actually have them set low on my Specialized, just for like a different feel. So I'm going to try high on this one. And yeah, I think these cleaned up pretty well. Not too much to it. Just give them a nice wipe down. Give them a rinse. Yeah, you can see they look pretty good. And here with the XT brakes, just taking them all apart, taking all the washers out, because I'm going to give those a clean. If the rust is not too bad on the washer, I'm going to show you here. You can basically just spray a little bit of WD-40 and then just give it a brush. You don't have to soak the whole thing in vapor rust, and that will kind of come off because it has a pretty strong coating on it. So yeah, that's looking good. Just showed you how just one works. And then for the rest of the bolts, what I'm going to do is just give them a little soak in WD-40 just to help loosen some of the rust and grime on there. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to give these XT quick brush down. So I'm using the nylon brush here just to make sure I don't scratch up these brake levers, and give them a rinse. Honestly, they're pretty clean already when I got them. Just want to give them a once over. So yeah, at this point, I've already decided that I'm going to go single speed. I think it'll make a pretty cool single speed with this frame. And I think the XT brakes will be a nice upgrade as well. Make it a little bit more snappy. I remember, I don't know if someone sent to me or it was a comment on my YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but I remember someone saying like they wouldn't put like why would you put such a high-end part on a low-end frame? So yeah, I'm basically doing it again. But I think, if the frame, my thinking is if the frame is pretty cool, it's worth saving and upgrading. But yeah, that's just me. I'm sure most people wouldn't put XT on a high-10 / chromo frame. But here, yeah, basically just brushing up all those little washers, give them a quick brush down. A little bit tedious, I think, just to do each one, but once I start to do one, I got to do all of them. But yeah, they look pretty good afterwards. And then yeah, here's basically how you put the spacers on. Make sure you align the brake pads the right way. Usually for these ones, they have little arrows showing you the wheel rotation, and then you just got to kind of think in your head, okay, which brakes are going in the front, which brakes are going to go in the back, and then kind of just set them up. But yeah, here they're all done. I think they're looking pretty fresh, looking good. And then now we're going to do these skewers. I was actually holding off on these skewers for a while just because of how rusted they were. But got to do them sometimes, so I'm going to chuck these in a vapor rust and see how they go. So yeah, here's the container, and just pour it in. My vapor rust is actually pretty old. I think it's a couple of years old now, so I think it's right on the end of its kind of life. But I'm going to chuck these in anyway to see how it works. These are, I always forget something. These are the stem bolts, and the stem bolt that goes all the way through as well. And then here's the next day. Basically, I'm just checking it. I left it in for 24 hours. You can see it got rid of some of the rust, but not all of it. I think because just the vapor rust is so old, it just takes longer. But you can basically brush it off and it comes off. I think it looks pretty good. But yeah, I actually have another batch of vapor rust that I can bust out. So I bought the big mix, and I've been just using half of it over the last 2 years, and then I'm gonna bust the new one out, and yeah, hopefully that lasts another 2 years. So I know it seems like vapor rust is pretty expensive, I'd say, but it does last a long time, and I used it for a long time, so I think it's definitely worthwhile. Of course, it's not working as well here, but yeah, if you see some other vids, you basically just drop it in and pull it out, and all the rust is gone. You can see here basically all the rust is still on there, so I'm just brushing it with a wire brush, bit of WD-40, trying to get everything off, and give it a quick rinse. And then here, just brushing each one down. You can see they do come up pretty nice if it's just surface rust. But if the rust is super deep, it's a lot harder, and it's never going to go back to the chrome. And in here I'm just using this kind of like rubber piece, and yeah, basically on the really hard rust stuff you can just kind of grind it off almost. But yeah, the piece is kind of just like a hard rubber. That blue thing is kind of like a hard rubber, so it's not going to like gouge the metal or anything. Alright, that's basically all done. You can see got all the rust off and looks pretty good. I just want to show you these rubber things. You can just kind of like pull on them and they come off. It might take a little bit of a strength, but yeah, it'll come off eventually, and you can just slide them back on like that. But yeah, I think these are looking good. Alright, so chucking the wheels on now, starting to build basically, and yeah, I think even just with the wheels on it looks pretty cool. Putting in the quick release, and then yeah, the seat posts, make sure you grease up your seat post. But yeah, there's nothing else I really had to fix here. Yeah, the seat post size is 25.8, so a little bit strange if anyone's wondering. And here I got some albatross bars for cheap. Always wanted to try them. I think they're pretty popular that I've seen. But yeah, they feel pretty good and pretty light. Here I'm just chucking on the stem. This is just an old mountain bike stem that I had actually off the Miata build, if you saw that one. And yeah, just lining up the bars, seeing what's comfortable, making sure it's centered, and then doing that clamp bolt tight enough so when you press down on the bars it doesn't slip or anything. So that's kind of how you can test it. But yeah, I think these are looking pretty cool. Nice little sweep to them. I actually think they're not too different from just the cruiser bars you can get. I think they're just slightly wider, and the material is, of course, way lighter, so I think that's basically what you're paying for with Nitto. And then here, yeah, just putting on the XT brakes on, just grease up the little canty pivot things, and then put them on. Not too much to it. Line up the pads. You just squeeze the brake calipers, and then make sure the pads are aligned to the rim. And here, I mentioned this before, but make sure the pads are on the right way, rotating with the wheel, and then same with the back here. And yeah, just make sure they line up, and that's good. And then here, I'm just taking off these end caps off, because I was going to put grips on them. But yeah, the grips I end up deciding on, I end up putting those caps back on anyway, so yeah. These are the grips I'm putting on. These are from an old build as well. They're kind of, I think they're like super sick. They're old profile WWF, Wildlife Foundation grips, and they have like little animals and little sea creatures on them, so yeah, they're pretty sick. I wish they were like a little bit thicker as well, but I think maybe the style back in the day was like thinner grips, and then yeah, just gave them a clean up as well. But yeah, you can see I put those end caps back on the bars. Yeah, here's the grips, pretty cool. I don't think they make grips like this anymore. It'd be sick to re-release them, but just make them twice as thick. But yeah, I still think they're pretty cool. And then yeah, the grips go with the whole theme, I think, because I already got the swamp things with the little character on the tire, and then the frame, and then the grips now, kind of all matching up. And here I'm just cutting cables. Just make sure you try to get the right length. Here I want to show you you might think you cut it the right length, but a little hiccup if you squeeze the brake is going to change the length of the cable, the housing. So what you want to do is make sure you try to set your brakes up where the cable would be in its natural position. Here you can just take off the little spring, the little wire, and then just wrap it up. And you can see when I wrap it up, that cable is longer than the other one. You also want to make sure you can turn with it pretty easily so it's not rubbing. And then here it's giving it trim. Yeah, you can see it's lined up the top now, so that's great. Busting up some new cables, and once you cut your cables, make sure you fix up the ends. You can use a file or a spoke to kind of clean it up. Sometimes if you need to, you can recut it, cut off the little end just to make a clean cut. But yeah, I also sometimes I put a drop of lube, synthetic lube here, waterproof lube, just a drop in the housing, and it makes the cable slide real nice. But yeah, just lacing it up, not too much to it. Here, once you put the brakes on, you can see one side's touching and one side's not, so there's a trick to aligning these brakes. So basically you want that caliper to be yin more, and how you do that is the caliper has two, or the brake arms have two springs inside, and then that little screw there, if you turn it clockwise, it'll put more pressure on the spring, and if you turn it anti-clockwise, it will release the pressure. So what you want to do is put some on the right hand side and take some off the left hand, and then just spin your wheel, make sure it's clearing. And then here just doing the same thing on the back. Probably a bit easier on a stand, but it wasn't too hard. But yeah, on the back, what ended up happening, it kept touching both sides. So what happens when that happens is basically your wheel is not 100% true. So I had to give it a quick true, take out the slight bump, and then now it's spinning good without touching the pads. If it's still touching the pads super close, you might need to give a little bit more brake cable in there to give it a little bit more space. And then here I'm just tucking this cable in. This is kind of, I feel like I do that all the time now, just tuck it in. So I got this SE Blitz seat for the Schwinn originally, and because I'm going to do a few upgrades to the Schwinn, but I end up chucking on this bike, and I think it looks pretty sick. It's pretty comfortable, surprisingly comfortable, because the plastic flex a little bit, and I think it suits the bike, so I end up going on this. I think it looks pretty good. People might disagree, but whatever. And then I decided not to use the quick release clamp because I just wanted a cleaner look, and when I lock it up wherever, I don't have to worry about my seat getting stolen. Being a single speed, probably end up being my runaround bike. So yeah, here's 2 chain rings that I got secondhand, pretty good, teeth in pretty good condition. I think one is brand new and one has a little bit of wear. It's 40 and a 41. I ended up putting the 41 on just because I wanted a completely new drivetrain. So yeah, new chain ring, new cog. Also did new BB, ended up doing new BB. But yeah, you can see this chain ring bolt was too long, so I had to use a washer on the back to make sure it fit. So yeah, that's a good little tip if you don't want to grind it down. And it's just one. I forgot what those washers are called, but they do flatten out after you tighten it. Maybe it's called a spring washer. I don't know. But yeah, just tighten up in the star pattern, and I put the ring on the inside. Thing looks pretty good, looking pretty fresh. That's the back, that's the front. That's all done. And then yeah, here I ended up getting a BB. The original BB was 113, but I got a 110. And yeah, just because a 113 wasn't available from the website I ordered from. So I ended up getting a 110. I think it'll be fine. just because it's going to be a single speed. It'll bring the chain line in a little bit closer as well, which I think is a good thing. And yeah, just installing the BB here. Just make sure you go slow, make sure it goes in the threads, just don't rush it, just work it in. And it ended up working real well. Ended up being a little bit tight where that lock paste is, and then I just brushed it off with a brush. But yeah, the BB was pretty tight, BB shell was tight, so it's always a good sign as well. I'd rather have it a little bit tight than too loose. And then here, just putting on the cranks, putting a little bit of grease on the tapers. This is usually split 50-50 whether people grease up the cranks, tapers or not. But yeah, I've done a bunch of bikes and I like to put a thin coat on now. That's my conclusion. And then I thought I could just put the bolts on, but I forgot to clean them, so I had to give them a quick clean. Basically just use WD-40 again, wire brush. There was a bit of surface rust inside the bolts, but yeah, I just want to clean it up. You can actually take those black plastic things on and then brush it down and put them and then pop them back on after. But yeah, these are looking pretty good. And then yeah, just crank them on, put them on. Try not to go super tight. You'll feel when the cranks are snug, and that's basically what you want. And then same with the drive side here as well. Yeah, just do it up until it's snug, and then just don't overdo it when you feel it stop. All right, now working out the chain line. So I just use a tape measure. There's no right way as long as it's straight. But yes, usually a guess at the beginning. And then I got this old stock ground control. I don't know if they sell these anymore, but this looks pretty old. But yeah, it's a 16T on the back, 41 on the front, and then you just slide it on the hub. Has spaces. You try to align the cog best you can, and then chuck on the chain and see if it's aligned. But yeah, I've been using these SRAM 8-speed chains. They're a little bit sticky when you get them out of the box, but just give them a quick wash. I use the Smooth Lube Smooth Prep. This is from Butte Bike as well, just a couple capfuls, but it gets rid of the sticky stuff really quickly, which I like, makes light work of this. But yeah, the 8-speed chain, 6, 7, 8 speed chains are all the same size, and this one comes with a quick link, so I've been liking this. And here you can see the chain line once I put it on. It's a little bit close to the wheel, so I have to move it out, just like this. Moved it out there, and then end up being pretty straight. And then here, when you put the chain on to see what links, it's kind of like a guess of what's going to work out. But yeah, you just kind of got to push your wheel in a little bit because you want a little bit of gap to pull back on it to allow you to tension the chain. But yeah, mine ended up working out pretty well. It was kind of like in the middle of the dropouts, and then yeah, just pull it tight to get that quick link on, and then yeah, there you go. You want a little bit of play in your chain. Remember, I did a video on Instagram, and then people were saying that I did my chain up too tight. But yeah, you do want the chain tight enough so it's not going to fall off, but not super tight where it creates friction, basically. And then here, just putting on these Mission pedals. I think these are BMX pedals. But yeah, I gave them a quick clean, and then use a little bit of grease, put it on the cranks. Not too much of this, actually. And then that's looking good, spinning well, you can see by the chain tension. And then here, putting a Smooth Lube on the chain. This is from Butte Bike as well. I think this is more wax based, so yeah, it works pretty well. Alright, and that was the last thing, and here's the final bike. So yeah, ride's pretty nice, super fun. It's a pretty light bike actually, and the handlebars are pretty comfy. Also the gearing's nice, still can make it up hills, not too slow as well. And yeah, the seat's more comfortable than I thought. And yeah, it looks pretty sick, I think. Nice little bike to rip around on. Shout out Ryan, Mikey, Ali, and Andra for your donations. Much appreciated, and thank you to anyone who bought sticker packs, they help too. Also, shout out to anyone who sent me stuff. Appreciate you sending me any gear. Shout out to all my supporters, and yeah, thank you for watching, and let me know what you think of the bike, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.